like, pray with Jabez. There is so much out there. There is so much, and we need to allow God to use us to fulfill his purpose in us and with us, so that we can, like, there is so much work. There's so much.
Hey guys, welcome back to Keeping It 99, the most edifying podcast in the world. And I'm joined here today with Miss Demiana Ghattas. Thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So I just wanted to talk to you today a little bit about your service and your faith. So the first question I have for you is, can you kind of talk a little bit about your life growing up in this service and some of the services that you do?
So I do a lot of different kind of services, and some of them, like, I saw in the church, some of them, like, got opened. But everything started with when I was in college. A group of us, like students together, that was like 16 years ago. We were together, like, we were like Coptic youth. We were together. We were in another city, so we would stay there the entire week and then just come home for the weekend. And we each went to a different church, so we got together and we started doing a small Bible study together. And then when we did the Bible study together, we wanted to start service. But then at that same time, I was introduced to Jabez prayer. I'm not sure if there's a lot of youth or a lot of people are familiar with that prayer. But that prayer has become my life. And I've been experiencing it and living it on a daily basis. And it started with when I read about it. And we'll go over his prayer together. But when I read about it, and then I got this small book from actually McKay's bookstore, and it's a very small booklet, and then I started reading it, and then I was like, okay, let me test this prayer. And then I tested the prayer, and then I'll tell you what happened from there. But before we go on, I'd like to share with you what this prayer is and about this man who is really a great role model to me from the Bible. His whole life and his prayer and everything is literally in 2 verses. And they are in the middle of the book of Chronicles. And so, the book of Chronicles, if you're familiar with it, it's really it's all names. And then it just all of a sudden in the middle, there's a break. And then it tells you about this person named Jabez. And I'll read together with you, and I'll tell you why this meant so much to me. It says in 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 9 and 10, it says, "Now Jabez was more honorable than his brothers, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bore him in pain. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, Oh, that you would bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you may keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. So God granted him what he requested." This is actually one of the very, very rare prayers, or probably the only prayer that you'll see in the Holy Bible that immediately after it, it says, so God granted him what he requested. And there is a lot of I in this verse. So first of all, Jabez, his name means pain. And imagine all your life that your mother or your mom and dad gave you a name meaning pain. Whether she was having pain through labor, whether they were having pain, like a painful situation during their life circumstances, or whatever it is. So his mom called him pain. So growing up all his life, from the people who most should love him, they used to call him pain. And that's not the most loving environment. That's not the friendliest environment. That's not the most comfortable environment. But he did not let that hinder him and hinder his life. And he didn't let his life circumstances or use any excuses in his life really to hinder him for God, to be that vessel in God's hands to fulfill God's purpose for him. So in his prayer, it says, oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory. If you notice, everything is me. And so yes, we are very familiar in our spiritual life and in church and growing up that we should have our prayers focused on others and praying for others. But it is really good for us also to pray the right prayers for ourselves and for our lives so that God's purpose can be fulfilled in our life. And in here, actually, his whole prayer is praying towards him, like for that you would bless me, enlarge my territory, your hand would be with me to keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. And so, but if you take his prayer, there's a lot of studies, there's several books, there's several sermons, and actually, and like year by year, day by I've been growing with this prayer. And just this past week, my spiritual father sent me like a sermon that he did on Jabez prayer, and I've learned and grown so much in it again in ways that I, like in the past 16 years, like haven't thought about, you know. A week before, one of my friends was like, have you heard of the Jabez prayer? I heard the sermon by Abuna Tadrus Malati, like I think you would like it. And then she sent it to me. I was like, you have no idea how much I love the Jabez prayer. And then like right after that, like that was like in school, we have Bible verses and we make them into a tune. So that was our Bible verse for the school and for all the kids. And like I got to see God's hand also, like with all the kids and some teachers with that verse. So like asking God's blessings, there's several verses in the Bible that talk about how like God's blessings for us, and he has all these blessings to give us. And sometimes we're blocking it, we're hindering it, and we are not fulfilling those blessings and that grace that God has for us. And so, and it says, enlarge my territory. And so it's not like just enlarge my territory. So God, like, put me wherever that you want your name to be glorified, and help me to see you and people and in everyone and in every encounter, and use me to bring glory to your name. And like just in any encounter, God, like enlarge my territory. It doesn't mean just like for us to be like, a lot of times we are just self-centered upon like our own homes or my own church and like myself. But this is not God, what God is asking of us, to enlarge our territory in the sense of like if you're like in the grocery store, in college campus, in high school, at work, in the mall, in the airport, as you're walking in the park, literally anywhere and everywhere that God puts somebody in your life, to enlarge your territory in that sense, and to like, God, use me to glorify your name, and also like put people in my life and put circumstances and open doors in my life so that I can glorify you and that you may use me to glorify your holy name. And so, and then he went on and said that your hand would be with me. It's really, really important that we don't take things upon ourselves and like depend on our own self, but always, always, always to rely on the hands of God and to always hold his hand as our Father, our friend, our beloved, and go hand in hand with him to like to whatever service that he opens in our door, like to whatever door he opens in our way. Like we want his hands to be with us. We want him to guide us. We want him to lead us. And it's not me that I am the one doing this, because then like, and it's not my human mind or logic, but it's like fully 100% relying on him. That I may not cause pain. I don't want to cause pain, like, to anyone, and to keep me from evil. And to keep me from evil, this is the part that I like learned this week from my spiritual father. And like throughout, I thought like to keep me from evil, like, sometimes when we are in a spiritual high, or like we feel God's joy or presence, and then like, then we get these fights or wars from the enemy, and Satan fights us. But like I just got to grow this week with my spiritual father in the sense of, actually, when we are spiritually high, and when we have that spiritual high or that spiritual success, to keep us from evil, in the sense of, the story of Gideon and him overcoming and being victorious, and the people coming to him and telling him, Let's how about you and your son rule over us? And then he responded to them and saying, no, neither I or my son, but God rules over you. And then he went on and they said, okay, well, like they gave all this gold and they built this thing. And then and he fell into a snare, that spiritual success, like he wasn't vigilant and he wasn't and he got a little bit comfortable, and sometimes we do too, so it's like spirit, like when we have these spiritual highs, to really truly be humble and to always know that it is God working through us, and to be vigilant from these wars that can come upon us when we have these spiritual wars. And it's more like the spiritual wars when we have our spiritual highs are tougher than like the actual wars when like Satan fights us towards hindering us from the service or so on and so forth. You can cut me whenever you okay. So with that being said about Jabez and his prayer, after I read about this prayer, after I studied it a little bit with this book, and then I was like, okay, I want to test it. That's when I was in college campus. And then when I was in college, I was doing my master's in organic chemistry. And then I'm in the lab all the time. So I know literally everyone that comes into that lab. And I was in the computer lab one day, and then I saw, that was the day I started praying the Jabez prayer. And I really said, I want to test it. I want to see if this thing works. And so I was in the chemistry lab, and then this person was sitting next to me. And then I have never seen this person before. And then she was like, where are you from? I said, I'm from Egypt. She's like, are you Coptic? I said, yeah. She's like, really? I've been looking for a Coptic church for 4 years. And then inside of me, I smiled and I said, this is it, I asked for it and God gave it to me. This is a territory that he's enlarging for me. And so we talked and we had a great conversation together. I invited her over to come in the weekend to our church, and she came. And then after that, I was like, okay, this is real. This is legit. So started praying it, and literally ever since then, God has just been opening doors. God has just been guiding and leading, and it really truly is him. And he is blessing in the sense, in so many ways. And he gives and grants this joy, and he grants his, you really get to physically feel him and experience him through all these different service opportunities. So we started as the 3 or 4 youth. We started doing Bible study together. And then afterwards, we're like, okay, how about we want to serve together? And then we started serving together on campus together. And then afterwards, we're like, okay, how about we take that home, to Nashville, but back home when we go back to for all the youth together and all the churches, and not just be one church, but have it combined all the churches. And then we started together. And we would meet one day, we used to meet, it started with us together meeting one Friday, we would meet every Friday, and then every Saturday we would go out to service, to different kind of services. And then we would meet one Friday at St. Bishoy, and then one Friday at St. Mina, one Friday, so we would meet at a different church every Friday. And then we were a group of servants from so many different churches. And then we would go out to service on Saturdays. But then by time, things got changed. God, and really God is the one that transforms and changes, and he opens different doors. He it's really beautiful to experience him on a daily basis. And actually the Jabez prayer has become our daily prayer now for the service. And I pray this every single day and before I leave my house. And I really do get to see him opening doors, putting people in my life, and it's to touch him in that sense. So where do we go from here?
So first off,
sorry, go ahead.
It's a beautiful story, and then the kind of the follow-up question to that was moving from college into current time. How has that service kind of evolved, and then what does that look like now?
So we do different kinds of services now. We do, our service group is called Koisalt. It's Coptic Orthodox Youth Serve and Love Together. And we have servants in that group, from most of the churches here in Nashville. So it's not just a one church service. It's most of the, we have servants from Saint Bishoy, Saint Mary, Saint Verena, Saint Mina, Saint Mary, Saint Mark. Like we have Saint Pope Carlos. So we have servants literally from most of the churches, like here in Tennessee that we're serving together. And I cannot say how blessed I am to be serving with each and every one of them, because I really feel God's presence and God's love and peace like amongst like this service and with them. But so things have been evolving a little bit and things have been changing a little bit in the sense of like we used to serve like every Saturday morning, and now it's like every Monday. Like, and we used to serve like this one nursing home. Now God has opened so many different nursing homes, like so many doors to different nursing homes. So we every Monday we go out to nursing homes and elderly, and so there are 2 different towers, and then there's like another one in Smyrna, and then there's every Wednesday we do like sick sick visitations, so whether sick in the homes or in hospitals. And then every 6 weeks to 2 months we do homeless service, and we go out to the camps, and we get actually people involved and like donations and things like from the school, from like high school service, from the Koi Salt servants, and literally everyone is involved in the donations of items, and then like the Koi Salt group goes out and to distribute that. Like some of them have started, like for example, like the way the homeless service started. It was several years ago. I was like a parent came in, and I was talking to one of the parents, like at school, and then he had his restaurant, and he was telling me how like he had all these homeless people come in front of his house, sorry, not his house, in front of his restaurant, and they sit there, and then like one time he was like, you know what, I'm gonna follow them, and he followed them, and like he ended up going into the soccer field, and they were inside of the soccer field and like literally in the woods and in the trees, and then he found several tents, and he was just sharing that with me. And then we started, like we had a different kind of homeless service back then. Like we used to go 15, 16 years ago, we used to go under the bridge in downtown. We used to do like that kind of service. We used to go into shelters and serve that way. But God has evolved, like changed and things for us, and he opened that door for us. And then after he opened that door for us, like then you would have the people whom we're serving, they would like send us off and say like, you know, there's also this homeless camp like behind this place, or you'll find this other homeless camp under the bridge there. And so like it ended up being like all these different spots that we would go to. And like literally about a month ago, when we went out on a Sunday to give out stuff, and then when we went out, like we were introduced to some people. Like we went to like this homeless camp, and then this homeless camp, like they introduced us. They were like, you know, behind like this gas station, there's like these, like there's this small bridge, and under that bridge there's like all this like this whole, literally it's like a compound. It's like it's all these different camps. And then when we went there, they were like, you know, if you keep going straight on this road, like behind this road, you'll find like there's several people behind this apartment complex inside the woods. And so like literally you're not the one like who's like it really is God guiding and leading. And the way how God also like guided us to go on that day, like the next day we went to a snowstorm that lasted for a whole week, and like everything was shut down here for a whole week in Nashville. But then it was like literally God's timing. God sent us that day at that time, and God opening these doors for that, you know. And it's really good to see his hand and his direction and guidance in that. We like actually just this past week, one of the people that we used to serve, his wife had cancer. She passed away, but we're still in contact with him. And so he called me and he said, hey, like my friend, like at work, his wife, he has cancer now, and and it's a severe stage. And I was telling him about how you guys used to come and visit us when my wife was sick, and you used to bring so when we go visit, like we read a part of the Bible, we either do a tamgid of the saint or a spiritual song, and we like just like it really is a spiritual gathering, unity. I don't know what to say, but And so he was like, is it okay if I give you his number and if I tell him about you guys? I was like, for sure. And so it happens like that. Like, like God keeps opening doors after doors after doors. And it is him, that provides these. A lot of times people say, like, sit there and say, I don't have the opportunity to serve. Like, I'm not able to serve. Like, and we have this negative attitude about service. And like, oh, all these things are happening wrong in the church. All like, oh, this service is this or that. Or, I don't have these chances, but if I had the chances or if I had these opportunities or these people are hindering me from this or that. But it really is like, if it is your desire, if you pray it, and if you pray with Jabez, like, oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me to keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain, God will grant you that request. And he will provide ways. He will open doors for you and your family. And it might not be, like, it doesn't have to be big doors. It can be somebody at work. It can be like somebody that you met in the grocery store. It can be like after we learned that, like, we went over this prayer in school. One of the teachers came to me and she said, I experienced this when I went to Walmart. Like, I saw this person and they were struggling, and then I really felt this. Like, and so, like, literally everywhere and anywhere that we go. So, like, if as long as we come to him with longing and with understanding and with like a heart that really desires for him to like give us opportunities to enlarge our territories, to use us to glorify his name, to really bless us, then God will grant us all these different opportunities, things that we have never thought about, things that we don't think of, things that we and actually that we don't know what to do or how to go about. And then it is then that God will use us more to glorify his name. Then when it's like, oh, I know what to do, I know what I'm doing, I am capable of this or that. So like, just trust in God, give him yourself really, and allow him to use you and to let you see him and people, and for others to see him in you and through you. So God is so good, and he really wants to give us that. And there's so much that he wants to give us, and all he wants from us is to truly ask, just to ask him, and he will give us that.
That was beautifully said. There's a lot of good things in there. I think there's a couple things I wanted to expand on and touch on, but just a quick point about what you just said, how God is so good, and how if you really desire for God to do a work, like to use you as a vessel for his work, it will happen. And I agree 100%. And I think a lot of times, like you said, people make excuses that they feel like that they don't have an opportunity. They feel like that they don't have the willpower, whatever it is. But like you said, at the end of the day, it's up to you just coming to God and giving God whatever you have. Because whatever you sacrifice to God, he will bless that and let that continue. So my next question is kind of moving a little bit away from the topic of service and a little bit more about your life with the service. How do you balance all of these services that happen multiple times a week and all these things with your other responsibilities in life? How do you kind of balance those two things?
I can't live without service, because like, I really truly, not only me, but like all the servants that we serve together, like, you feel God's presence, you touch him, you experience him. It's like, in Jeremiah 18, when he tells them to go to the potter's house and see for yourself, and then when you see, like, the potter and the pottery wheel, like molding, shaping, and like slamming like the clay on the wheel, and it's like, when you go and you see that for yourself, like it's sometimes it's painful, sometimes it's hard, but then afterwards, when you see it go through the fire, even after the fire, you see how afterwards it's something so beautiful. It's great. And in the service and during the service, whether like the elderly or the sick or the homeless, like, it's very humbling. It's really, really humbling. And you leave each time really joyful. And you leave each time like God really like feeling God's presence in one way or another, and really joyful and like really thankful in your life, and that like I have no reason to complain about anything that I'm going through in my life. Like it really is humbling. So when you feel God's joy, when you feel God's hand, and when you feel God moving you, and when you feel that, you know, like you become a lot more thankful, and when you have any problems in life, that pushes you, like, you know, like when you go and you see that your problems vanish. Like, I mean, they're there, but like, what am I talking about? Like, what kind of problems am I talking about? They're really not, like, they're insignificant, you know? And then when you see all these people thankful, like, this kind of pushes you to, like, no, I can't miss. Like, I have to make every effort to be there. You know, I need this. I need him. I need his, like, his presence. I need to, like, to see him live. I need to experience him, and to go into that potter's house and see and experience and see for myself. And so, like, when you have that, and when you see that, and when you feel that, like, it makes you like خلاص بقى, it became a commitment, you know, like, just like I am committed to work every Monday to Friday from 7:30 to 3:30, or however long, or however whatever time everybody's committed to their work. Like, I have this commitment every Monday night. Like, you cannot touch it, you know. And sometimes my friends make fun of me of that, and they're like, okay, we need to gather. Like, how? I'm like, okay, we can, but outside of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Okay, Friday I have high school service, and so, like, I have a commitment during this time. And, you know, when you make it a commitment, literally on Wednesday, for example, on Monday or Wednesday or Friday, it's just a couple of hours, you know. So, but then these couple of hours, like, you get recharged, it really humbles you. It really does humble you. And so it makes you make it a priority. Just like you will make time for whatever you want in life. And there is time to do anything and everything that you want to do. And so when we, like, organize and we, like, make things a priority in our life, whatever we make a priority in our life, that will take over. And so just like I make a priority in life to go to work and to be committed to my work because I need my job, just like I make a commitment to, like, to go to liturgy and communion because I need him in my life, and I need to abide in him, and for him to abide in me, and for us to be one, and for us to walk outside and hand together. Just like I need to have a commitment to the word, like, on a daily basis, to sit with the word of God, to be fulfilled and to be filled with him in order for me to go and, like, and share him with others. So I need to sit, like, I have to make a commitment to myself to sit with him and his word every day. So when I see that, and when I see how, like, and I commit myself to it, then I will make it a priority, and you cannot touch it. I cannot touch it, you know, during the week or during my days.
I think, like, what you're saying about the commitment is extremely important. And I think, like you said, it's not just service. It's every single aspect of your spiritual life, and even just your life in general.
Yeah.
Commitment and discipline are extremely important. You touched on a point about how you almost feel like you need the service more than the service needs you.
For sure.
And that's a saying of one of the church fathers. I don't know which one, but one of them. And I really think that statement holds a lot of value, because a lot of times we feel like if you ever go on a mission trip, or you ever, like, serve the homeless or the sick, you always feel like you're doing something for them until you go there. And then you realize you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
That, like, the material, whatever you're giving them or whatever you're providing them with, is so insignificant compared to what you gain out of it. Like you said, like, from like being humbled and being spiritually edified. And I think to further that point, it makes even a bigger difference when you do it with other people who are just as committed as you are. So I wanted to ask you, what has serving with others done with your relationships with those people?
It really has helped a lot, because, and as I told you earlier, I'm very, very, very blessed with the group that I serve with and that we serve together, because really, truly, like, almost like all the people that I'm serving with, and it's good to have and to see that, and to, like, and I learn from them and we learn from each other. They have this heart where, like, really, they pure love, like, they're very present, and they're all there, and they're willing to do anything and everything for, like, whomever we're visiting for the service. And, like, you know, like, last year we did this elderly trip to the convent, And so we took one bus full of like elderly to the convent, and it was just so beautiful to see the hearts of the servants. Like, they are really pouring their all, and the reason why they're pouring their all is because they see how joyful the people we are serving are, and it makes them, yes, although you're very tired, but you're not thinking about how tired you are, because all you think about, like, and all you're thinking about is how to make others joyful. And it's a reflection. When you make others joyful and happy, like, you yourself get filled and you get joyful and you become happier, you know. And so, like, definitely the group of people that you're serving with makes a huge difference, and it, like, and the community that you're serving with makes a huge difference, and the direction, like, your goal, what is our goal, you know. And so when our goal is really truly Christ, when our goal is like that we are being like, and we remind each other and we remind ourselves every now and then that, hey, like, sometimes when we get distracted, hey, we are here, like, we are fully present in the service, and we all, like, we can hang out, we can joke, we can play in between the service or after the service, but during the service we are 100% fully present with the person that we're visiting. So no side conversations, no nothing, like, you know, to the side from one another. We are fully 100 present with the person that we're serving and with those whom we're serving. And so it really helps because, like, we're on the same, we have the same goal together. And just the simplicity of everyone around, just the love from everyone that we have, just the hearts of everyone that really, like, they want to go above and beyond themselves to do whatever, like, to make others happy, to make others joyful. And it is contagious. It really is contagious.
I agree. I think that, like you said, it's very contagious. Like, serving with others, and especially in large communities, large Coptic communities like Nashville, it spreads like a wildfire. Serving others. And you touched on a point about I forgot what it was. Yeah, so I do think it's very important. It is very contagious in that it does spread, and like, serving others. Oh, I know what it was. A lot of people say that in order to serve others, you have to fill yourself. What are your thoughts on that? And then what are your thoughts on whether the service itself fills you as well? If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So, yes, the service fills us in a sense, but I need, like, and this is something that my spiritual father always tells me, is that I need to be filled with him in order for me to go and fill others and go and share him with others. With that being said, that means I have to have my time with God, like early in the morning, like, you know, like, I have to have this dedicated time with him. I cannot go during my day or for, like, throughout my life or my day without having to sit with him and being filled with him, so that when I go and when I like before I leave the door of my room, before I leave the door of my house, I am, like, I'm ready for him to use me, you know. And yes, the service fills us, for sure it fills us, like, but it fills us differently. And yes, like, we are the ones that grow, we are the ones that get served in the service. I remember, like, I went on a mission trip to, like, I went to several mission trips, like, to Africa, to Thailand, to Mexico. But in all of those, it was like, you know, sometimes, like you would hear people thinking, or like, when the people that actually you're going to serve there, they would think that you're the missionary coming from America to, like, you know, to share with them and to give them. But in reality, like, their simple life, their hunger for the word of God, their thirst for Christ, like, for you to see how a Bible verse or two words from a Bible verse, how that changes the person in front of you, that really touches you, and it really makes you, like, put things into perspective for you, and in a sense of, you know, like, yes, I might be reading my Bible, but am I experiencing it on a daily basis? Am I experiencing the power and how living and how alive it is in my life? And so, like, in the service, when we go visit, like, in Africa, for example, like, it really made me grow a lot closer to my Bible, because I've seen how, like, really truly it is the Holy Spirit guiding and leading, and it is God using you. But then you see people change in front of you by a Bible verse that you would share, and then, like, you would go to some areas and they have, like, this whole, like a tribe, they have a Bible, and like they tear into pages, and every like family or person has one, and then after they read it, they pass it along. And then like I had people come and they try to steal my Bible. Like I would hold my Bible like this, because I had people coming and trying to steal my Bible, because they know that there is power in this book that I'm holding, you know. And you've seen people, and you see people change from like the word of God. And so that to you, it's like I'm taking his word for granted. I have not only one Bible, but 2, 3, 4, 5 in my house and everywhere that I go. But like, am I delving deeper in the word of God? Am I like being filled with his word? Am I allowing him and his word to change me and to change my life and to shape me and to help me like and guide me in everything in my life? Or am I like reading it for knowledge, so that I can just cite Bible verses and cite things and oh, I know this story. I might know the story, but am I living that story? Has it touched my life? And so, yes, you get fulfilled in that sense. Like, and like when you go into someone's house, like there's this person that we went to visit, and she was sick, and she has like lupus disease, and like, so it's like your immune system fights itself. And so like we went, she's always very thankful. And her household, actually almost all her children, including her husband, they all have different diseases. And this lady literally spends more time in the hospital and in pain and in seizures, and like more than she does, like, you know, just being a normal person, like without any of these things. But this person is always thankful, always thankful. And so one day we went to, like almost every time when we go and visit her, she like literally gets these episodes, and sometimes we have to call the ambulance, and sometimes like her husband, like we call her husband and he comes, and we we end up taking her or going with her to the hospital. But this lady, I will never forget, because one time we went to visit her and she was having a lot of pain. And so when we were there, and she was like, you know, I feel so bad. Like, do you think God is going to forgive me? Because in the middle of the night, as I was having so much pain, I told God I can't handle it. And then you pause and like, what? Like, what? You want God to forgive you for saying, I'm sorry, God, I am not able to handle like this pain at the moment. Can you take it away from me? And like, she's like, you know, I never asked him of that. And I feel like, you know, like I committed a sin, and like, it's a blessing from God, what he gives me in my life. And it's like, you leave that house, like, what problems do I have in life? You know, what problems do I have in life? And so am I thankful? Am I like, what are my prayers to God? And so like, you really do get filled in that sense, you know? It fills you. It really does fill you, but we cannot just rely on that alone and take away like being filled by the word of God and with the word of God. Because the more we are filled with him, the more we become, and like we become in his image, we become more loving like him. We are filled with his, because he is love, he is peace, he is joy. So the more we are filled with him and his word, we will be filled with his love, with his peace, with his joy. And so when we share like that, and like when we have that, like I had a period of my life when that grace was taken away from me, and know that this is God's grace, you know. And that like it was the toughest period of my life. It was really the toughest period of my life for that grace to be taken away. And so like it's hand in hand. Yeah, I have to like be filled with him and with his word. And I have to, just like I dedicate like time for everything else in my life, I have to dedicate time for myself to be sitting with him and his word, and to be filled with his word. And then like when I go out to serve, like he will fill me in other different ways. Like it's like experiencing his word alive, and it's seeing him and it's touching him alive.
Yeah, and I just want to go back to that story really quickly, because I think that's very powerful. It's always life-changing when you see someone who's in like a situation where you cannot think of anything possibly worse, and the first thing they do, the only thing they do, is thank God for it. I remember I went to Zambia right before I went to high school.
I went to Zambia too.
So it's a great place.
That is an amazing place. It has my heart.
Same. I went right before I went to high school and for a mission trip, and there's never been 2 weeks of my life that have been more influential than those 2 weeks. And everyone says that, and it's cliche, and everyone hears about how mission trips change your life, but it's true. Because you see people who are at their lowest, who are the simplest of the simple, and they have not one bad thing to say about anyone, about themselves, about God, nothing. It's just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's it. That's all you hear. And like you said, it really puts into perspective like your own problems that you have.
Yeah.
Where you look at it and you go, I can't even bring myself to say there's an issue in my life, because it's so small, it's so minute, it's so nothing compared to everything else in this world. And like you said, I think it's life-changing and it's extremely important. And I think the only way to combat that is to be constantly filled yourself in your own personal spiritual life. Because when you take God with you everywhere and everything you do, it allows you to put into perspective who you are in perspective to God. You know, how little you are compared to who God is. If you keep continuously to remind yourself of God and his work in your life.
You reminded me of another story, like when we were in the homeless service one day, and like actually it was that week, like that Sunday before, like that Monday that the snowstorm happened. And so we had tents, we had sleeping bags, we had like all these big bags to give them. But then I think we had almost run out like of sleeping bags. And so one of the ladies there, she was like, I know this person who would need it more than me. So can you give that to them? And then she gave us her tent that we were giving her so that we can give it to someone else who she thought was in more need than her. And like, that was just very humbling. It was so humbling to see, and it's so amazing to see, because there's so much good in all the people. There's so much like God is our creator, God is our maker, and God creates he creates the good, like good in us. And so there is goodness and good in all of the people. And so that, like, when we saw that in her, it's like it was very humbling. And sometimes like instead of her saying like I need to like I might take that, like you never know, like there's a snowstorm coming up, or like of course their stuff gets ruined during like snowstorms or thunder, whatever. And so instead of her like being selfish and self-centered upon herself, although she has nothing, she lives in a tent, but she thought about others. She put others before her. And she was like, this person might be in need more. And so like when you see people who are in desperate need, putting others before them, it's like, it kind of breaks you. It really breaks you and kind of puts things into perspective, like you were saying earlier, to get outside of yourself, and to think of others, to make others comfortable, to make others joyful, to bring joy into others people's lives.
Yeah, and sorry, and I'm very tired, but to continue that, I think there's this book, a very good book. It's called Elements. Not gonna spoil it, but it's my favorite book, favorite book series ever. And in this book, there's 4 parts. It's earth, water, wind, fire. I think that's the order, or maybe fire, wind. But in the beginning half, so earth and water, the premise of why it's called earth and water is because in order for you to see God in the full magnitude of who he is in your life, you have to allow yourself to be broken down like the earth. And that can come in many ways. That can come in seeing other people broken, and can come in yourself being broken. And by doing that, you get to understand who God really is. You get to be broken down by God and rebuilt by him again. And I think that is, at the end of the day, that's why we need the service more than the service needs us. Because at the end of the day, if you live your entire life without thinking about others, without serving others, and just in your own world, you'll never see what God's full plan is. You'll never see what God's full plan is, but you'll never be able to see a bigger portion of God's plan. You are only one person out of 8 billion on this planet, and billions more to come. Billions have passed. And in order for you to understand even a little bit, get a glimpse of what God's purpose is for you in the purpose of humanity. You have to be able to go out and serve others and to see other people and their struggles in their lives. So I think that's another reason why I think service is extremely important. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about perceptions of service. I think a lot of times there's misconceptions or preconceptions of what the service really looks like, especially within the Coptic Church. Have you really dealt with any stereotypes, any preconceived ideas about the services that you do or services you've seen others do, and how do you kind of deal with those?
Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so a lot of times people see service as you say, like, I serve, the first thing is Sunday school and that's it, or service outside services. Some people just have negative ideas about certain types of service. Has that ever really come to your attention or not really? And if so,
that has, and there are some, like, you get fought from within, and
course, yeah.
and those are the hardest, when you get fought from within, but like God always, like he really does come around and like guide and lead, and he supports and uplifts during those times. But I don't want us to, like, it's not more of like a service, or like whether Sunday school, whether the sick, whether the elderly, whether the special needs, or the homeless, or whatever. It's not more like I want us to live like a life of service, and to allow God to use us, and to open doors for us, even when we feel incapable, when we feel like we are not able to do this. I don't even know anything about this. But it is then that when we come to him knowing that we are nothing, and we don't know how to go about this, or we know nothing about this, it is when we come to him like that he then can use us and work with us and work through us. But when we come to him, I know this, I know how to do this, then we actually kind of hinder him from working in our life, and from allowing us to experience him, and like and to experience his hand, feel his presence, and to feel his guidance. So, like, if anything, I want us to not get out of this with any specific service, but more so like just pray Jabez prayer, really experiencing, allow God to do with you just like he did with him. And he will open doors for you. He will open opportunities for you, whether it being Sunday school, whether it being, like, I just got to learn recently from this lady who comes and cleans the church in silence. This is her service. She comes and cleans the church when there's no one here. And the joy that she has in her heart in this service, like her son, literally her son passed away about a month ago or so, and then, like, I didn't know her, I don't know her or know of her, and then Abuna called me. He's like, hey, can you and this person go visit her, because her son just passed away today in Egypt. Her son passed away in Egypt, and he was alone, and and she was here in America. And so I was like, at that time I was sick. I was like, Abuna, like, I don't think I should go visit her, because I think it was the strep, and it's contagious. And I was like, she's already, like, not feeling well emotionally and probably spiritually, so I should not go. So I won't, add on that by giving her the physical as well. And so my other friend called her after work, and to go to visit her and to see her. And so when my friend called her, she was like, hey, I'm coming to visit you, or is that okay? She's like, where are you coming? I'm at church, because Satan was trying to fight me and tell me, you know what? See God, the one that you're serving, and the one you're like, that you love. See, he took your son from you. And so she came the day her son passed away, to serve, to clean, to mop, to sweep, like, the church in silence. The day her son passed away. And so, like, I got to learn so much from her, and like how, like, she has this great passion, she has this great joy, and like, for cleaning the church. And I was like, I was telling her, I've never seen anybody this joyful, like, cleaning. Like, I really haven't. And so, like, it doesn't matter what service you do. It doesn't matter, like, so just like allow God to use you, allow God to enlarge your territory and to open doors for you and to like use you in ways that he sees best for you and best for others. And you will get to experience and see him like in a whole totally other, like totally different level. And so like you're not like, I can't imitate Isaiah for what he's doing. That's not who God created me to be. That's not the door that God was opening to me, you know? So Isaiah can't imitate like Mary or whoever and whatever she's doing, because that's not who he created him to be. Like there is a purpose that God wants to fulfill in each and every one of us. And it is different, even though within our service group, we are all so different. You could not have picked a totally different group, different personalities. You have the really quiet one who doesn't speak. You have the one who's really hyper. You have the one who's really creative. You have the one who is a giver. You have the one who is like, you know, calls and checks. You have the one who goes and knocks at the doors. It's very different, even though we're in the same exact service. But everyone has a different calling, has a different purpose within the same exact service. So like we just have to be ourselves. We just have to allow God to use us, to enlarge our territories, and that we allow his hand, because we cannot do it without his hand to be with us, and that we are kept from evil. And then when we feel those moments of grace, and when we feel those moments of joy, to know that it is him, and to be humbled and to know our weaknesses and to know that we are incapable outside of him. But with him, he's able to use us and to do great things with us and through us, for us and for others.
That was beautifully said. I couldn't have said it better. So any last words?
Before we go, I would like to sing this verse, because I would like for it to stick in everyone's mind. So that way, when you repeat it throughout your day, I would love for everyone to really start praying the Jabez prayer. Again, it's in 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verse 10, but his life is in verse 9 and 10. And so no matter what your circumstances are, no matter like how difficult your situation is, no matter how, like, do not let your circumstances stop you or hinder you. Do not I want to be in this specific service, but these people are not allowing me. Like, do not give yourself excuses. Do not like look at the negative. Just like pray with Jabez. There is so much out there. There is so much, and we need to allow God to use us to fulfill his purpose in us and with us, so that we can, like, there is so much work. There's so much work. There's so much that needs to be done in the world. There's so much, like, there are so many people living away from God and not feeling God's love and not feeling God's presence and not living with God. And when we are allowing God to use us, we're going to bring more glory to God. We're going to allow him to use us in ways that we have no idea about. And so please, let's pray with Jabez. Let's not allow our circumstances hinder us. Let's not give ourselves excuses. Let's not limit ourselves to or just have this narrow vision as to I want to be in this specific service. I want to do this specific thing, but more pray with Jabez. Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me to keep me from evil, and be assured that he will grant you your request just like he granted Jabez. And allow him to use you, allow him to open doors to you. And even when he opens doors to you, some of them are going to be really strange. Some of them are going to be oh, we're not used to this. We've never done this in our church. So a lot of these services, actually, when we started it, we haven't seen in our church happening. A lot of these doors, we haven't seen others do, but we have seen God open these doors and these opportunities for us. And a lot of times you will find God bringing opportunities and knocking at your door. And it can't, just don't use our logic, don't use our mind when it comes to service or God, in the sense of, oh, this service doesn't make sense, or this I'm not able to do this, or I'm incapable. I don't have what it takes to do this specific service or to do this thing. Like, just let him use you, you know? And you will get to see him, you will get to experience him, and you will get to experience this joy, and he grants you joy, like, in the service. And yes, be like, you know, be assured that there will be fights, that there will be like struggles, but also know that God is going to be with you, and that God will like uplift you, and as long as you really hold his hand, and he will make the difficult times, like, he will really truly carry you during these difficult times. So, and when we like are going through anything in our life, please go serve, enjoy service, and don't let any of your circumstances, any of whatever you're going through, or my life, oh, I was raised this way, oh, my family is this way, oh, like my dad, my mom, my household, the environment I'm in, the church that I'm in, the people that I'm surrounded with, do not let anyone hinder you, and allow God to use you, allow God to do great things with you and through you, and allow, like, so that you can experience him and his joy. And trust me, you will experience him and his joy in a whole totally other like level, you know. And before I go, because I really want you to pray this, and I want like everyone to pray this, and for it to stick in our minds and to stick in our hearts, and for us to pray it on a daily basis, and then like allow God to open these doors for us. I'm gonna sing it. My voice is not the greatest, but I love songs, and I love to turn things, and I love to turn his word into songs so that it can be implanted in my heart, and so that I can always remember it. And here is how it goes.
Go for it.
Oh, that you'd bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, to keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. 1 Chronicles 4 verse 10. This is where you need to go.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Demiana, for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. See you guys next week. Thank you.